Shana, and hi everyone. Greetings from Perth, Western Australia. We're just starting our Friday morning here, but I suspect a lot of you are just finishing up your Thursday evening. I'm really excited to be here today. I love working with Women Who Code, and thanks very much for taking time out of your busy days to sort of hang with me for a bit and think a little bit about how digital transformation is a human transformation. So I guess I started intentionally working in the digital transformation space about 3 years ago when my organisation sent me to Europe to do some research on options and opportunities for us to sort of more holistically dive into digital transformation. And I was blown away by all of the new technology and how it was being applied to the problems that we were trying to solve in my company. And so I came back really enthusiastic, and I spoke with everyone across the business at sort of all different levels and across all disciplines, because digital transformation is a whole of organisation process. And we built a digital strategy, we kicked off a number of pilots, but we've really struggled to take pilots to sort of full-scale operational activities. And one of the most consistent roadblocks that I encountered were individuals being fearful about technology taking away their jobs. So there was this underlying concern that they would no longer be relevant in the future if we fully embraced digital transformation and dived in to use all of the new technologies that were available to us. And I guess the response to this perceived that I had technical experts becoming even more hyper-specialised. They wanted to dive in and know everything about their field of expertise. They wanted to be the one go-to person in their area of work. And some even tried to master 10 or 20 different software packages so that they were not replaceable. They perceived that they would be secure in their work by becoming super specialists in their area of work. Then about 18 months ago, I came across this quote from Joseph, president of Northeastern University, and he said, "Go out and explore. The context you learn from having global experiences and forging human connections will be the differentiators that make you robot-proof." And he was talking to his graduating class last year. And I was really struck by this quote because what Joseph was suggesting was that simple, everyday human experiences and human connections were the things that were going to make us robot-proof. Now, I'd had many conversations with many technical people about this concept of being robot-proof or technology-proof, and none of them had really touched on this basic humanness that we could bring to the equation. It was all about trying to be better at our technology. So this really set me off on a whole new field of exploration in trying to understand the human elements of digital transformation. And so today I'm going to be talking to you about how humans can add value in a world that's moving really fast, in this rapidly evolving digital landscape. And it does mean that we have to shift away from this concept of climbing the career ladder and start playing on the jungle gym. And we have to let go of our occupational identity and really understand our own personal why. I'm going to introduce you to the future fit leadership mindsets that help you build the behaviours and attitudes that are going to ensure that you thrive through digital transformation. And we'll touch on the skills that matter most for the future workplace. And they're probably not the skills that you're thinking about right now. Also, for those of you who find yourselves leading through this period of time through rapid digital transformation, we'll just touch on some of the concepts that you need to be thinking about as you lead your teams through this sort of very rapid period of change. So I'm guessing that no one here is surprised when I say that society-wide changes are occurring at an ever-accelerating rate. We have an exponential growth in massive paradigm shifts in society. And if you were born at the time of the steam engine, you actually had 2 or more generations to absorb the impact of that change. And in days gone by, an apprentice could enter a trade, master his craft over a lifetime, and then pass those skills on to his own children. And it wasn't really that long ago that a person could reliably begin and end a career in a single company and perhaps even do the same job their entire life. But today, we're having to adapt to 3 or 4 or 5 massive paradigm shifts within a single generation. This is driven both by the velocity of change, but also because of our extended human lifespan. And it's what makes living in today's world different from generations who've lived in the past. It's just that sheer number of paradigm shifts that we have to absorb and respond to. And it's really clear that the ability to adapt and learn and change how we work and live is necessary. It's absolutely essential to survive and thrive in today's world. Now, if you're like my work colleagues, the focus of keeping up has very much been steered towards maintaining relevant technical skills, building technical capacity and capabilities. But it turns out that while these are important, they aren't what you should be prioritising. It's actually about simply being human. So we're entering the 5th era in human history. And in the age of hunter-gatherers and agrarians, humans needed a wide array of skills just to survive. As the industrial era unfolded, humans could specialise because we started becoming experts in a particular field, and then we shared and traded our work with others who were specialists in other areas. Then the information era came along, it shifted us again, and it saw large amounts of physical labour change to knowledge work. And it drove an even deeper specialisation. And this specialisation through the information era was based on stored knowledge, so everything that we learnt in the classrooms at universities and the experience that we gained through working in our specialised careers. And actually our current education systems are still focused on preparing people for this era. And our workplace policies and practices, they haven't moved on yet from the information era. But today, as digital transformation accelerates, we're entering the augmented era. And that's the era in which humans need to partner with ever more sophisticated technology. So our knowing, our absolute knowledge that we store in our head must give way to accepting that we have to constantly learn. And so the most critical abilities that we require to thrive in this augmented era lie around creativity, agility, and adaptability. Now, so that means that where we once learned for a specific job, you know, we went to university, studied a particular degree, and then used that knowledge and experience to build a career over decades. Now we have to work to continuously learn in order to embrace challenges and grab opportunities as they come past. And this requires that we move away from that traditional linear path through education, work, retirement. And we have to recognise that specialisation is actually giving away to neo-generalism, which is the idea that, you know, wherever we end up working, wherever we go, we can be a specialist or a generalist in that particular area at the time to address the challenges that we have right in front of us at that moment. So thinking further then about how we ensure that we continue to add value through this time of rapid digitalisation, consider the elements of your job today. You know, we all have parts of our job that are about learning and adapting. We utilise our professional soft skills. We have technical expertise. We do discrete tasks and operational tasks. These are all captured in our day-to-day work. And as technology takes over many of our routine tasks and removes the need for humans to be the sole source of specialist stored knowledge, we're left with needing to prioritise computer-augmented expertise, our professional enablers, and our learning agility. Now, in my experience, technical workers are scrambling to make sure that they have the expertise to interface with new technologies. I guess it's natural because we have studied and work with technologies all the time, but how many of you are thinking about your learning agility and your professional enablers or your soft skills? And we're going to explore this further through this presentation, but essentially, as we offload more and more tasks to machines, our value lies in contributing in uniquely human ways. So here's another way of looking at how humans can best add value in our rapidly changing world. So this is a picture of a simple S-curve. It's a simple diagrammatic representation of a technology or business model. And it begins with people exploring a problem or an opportunity, and they're not delivering value yet to the business because they're experimenting and trying to figure out new solutions to the challenges that they have identified they want to address. And this first phase is all about exploration, experimentation, that translation of an original idea to a workable solution. And it involves tacit knowledge and heuristic thinking, which is sort of like a combination of personal experience and intuition, that sort of gut feeling, and searchlight intelligence, that sort of connecting the dots before the situation is obvious to others. And then with the investment of time and money and other resources, the solution can be executed and introduced to the market. And that's where the technology brings value to the business. And the business will then scale up and expand its market and maximise value until such time that ultimately the solution is replaced with a new and better one. And they start the next S-curve. And this second phase of the business curve is about exploitation. And it works in the realm of explicit knowledge with a focus on reducing risk, utilising algorithmic thinking, and it's all about maximising exploitation and efficiencies and sales. Now, when the world was slower and products and services and business models lasted longer, much of the company's efforts lived in the exploitation phase. So that is the bulk of the resources were focused on creating greater efficiencies in production while driving demand through promotion, through marketing. But now the rate of change has accelerated and the S-curves for any given business or technology are shorter and closer together. So, for example, when the Walkman came out, it took 40 years to reach 400 million units. The iPod did that in 13 years and the iPhone did it in just 3 years. So these S-curves are getting shorter and shorter. Now, what it actually means is that humans have to get a whole lot more comfortable working in phase one of the business S-curve, that exploration and experimentation stage, because it happens a lot more frequently. And actually, there's no machine learning that can build that concept of exploration. It's a unique value proposition of humans. So what this means is that in a world with rapidly accelerating technological advances, humans will add value through personal wisdom and experience, that gut feeling and intuition, and the design thinking process, which encompasses creativity, customer-centric innovation, continuous improvement, brainstorming, etc. This type of work brings with it the requirement that we can all be agile and adaptable. And what we might have called in the past soft skills and the right attitude, we now recognise and define future fit mindsets as the primary tool required for us to bring value as humans in the future workplace. So what does all of this mean for how we shape and define ourselves? So for the majority of us working today, we've come from a world that was designed for the computerization and automation of manufacturing, which is the third industrial revolution. And in this world, we needed to pick a robust, solid, relevant major to study after school that would find us a job when we graduated. And probably more recently, we've needed to become hyper specialists within that field of study, so absolute technical experts within that field. And just think about how many people in your workplace have taken this approach to get them to where they are in their career today. And in that world, our personal identity has largely hung off what we do, and we measured our success with how high up we progressed on the defined career ladder for our area of specialisation. But in today's world, which is the fourth industrial revolution, our education actually needs to prepare us by teaching us how to learn and how to adapt and how to create. And we must become neo-generalists. So we are professionals that can apply our ability to learn and adapt to any number of roles that we might find ourselves in. But this approach puts huge pressure on how we identify ourselves. we can no longer easily articulate who we are by simply replying to the question, so what do you do? We will all have multi-industry careers with any number of occupational identities. And this then requires us to rethink how we measure our own success and how we define ourselves. And in a couple of slides, I'll talk to you about why that's so important in this period of absolute rapid change. So to reiterate, in the older economy, our life path was mapped out as a series of sequential steps from education through to career and then retirement. And once we completed our education early in our lives, we simply just climbed our career ladder for 40 odd years until we retired. But the new reality looks something more like a jungle gym. And we need to swap out the idea of education and bring in the idea of continuous learning. So that's that continuous state of discovery and reinvention throughout our careers. And we need to recognise that we will engage in a variety of work that meets our personal purpose and interests at any given time in our life. So instead of success being measured by how high up the career ladder we make it, our success will be measured by how clearly we are meeting our personal life purpose, how effectively we can learn and adapt to create new value in any of the work roles that we undertake. And it's really important to note that this new reality is already here. So no one listening in today can escape this idea of the jungle gym reality. We all need to make the leap from the ladder to the jungle gym if we haven't already. And we need to recognise that our learning is not complete. Our jobs are likely to be many, and we will need to navigate from, I guess, the old school way of thinking about our identity, our professional or occupational identity, which is created by a university degree and by the jobs that we have, into a new personal identity that we create for ourselves. So we have to move away from this single occupational identity and successfully navigate 5 or 10 or 20 different jobs in our working life. What is it that we need to define ourselves? It's no longer about, what do you do? Instead, we've got to think about our how and our why we do things. Our why or our purpose must come first. It's our personal why. We need to understand what interests us and what drives us. And next, we must understand and leverage our superpowers. Be very clear about what your unique attributes are. What are you naturally good at? And these will define how we translate the why into our lives. So it's from the why and the how that we can then find jobs that align with our purpose. Our work or the jobs that we do give us a tangible manifestation of our why. They translate the why into action. That why sits central to who we are. It's the core of our identity, and being clear on our professional identity or our personal identity forms the foundation, such a critical foundation for thriving in today's world. Now, our identity as a sort of unique or separate entity is not something that's visible to others, nor is it anything we're directly hired for. But it's the essence of how we show up in the world. And it holds everything else up and everything else together. You can see it sits at the base of the iceberg and keeps everything afloat. And if we feel our core identity is under threat, then it's really very difficult to learn and unlearn. It's very difficult to be comfortable with vulnerability and at ease with ambiguity. And it's hard to be open to failure because we feel threatened all the time. And all those things are going to happen in this period of rapid change because they're essential puzzle pieces for innovation and adaptation. So it's for this reason that we really do need to spend time understanding the idea of letting go of our traditional occupational identity and exploring our core purpose. Now, layered above our identity are our mindsets, and these are the lenses through which we see and interact with the world. Our mindsets also lie beneath the surface of how we show up in the workplace, and they shape our behaviour and our attitudes to learning and adaptation. And they shape how we view ourselves, how we view others, and how we apply ourselves to our work. And above our mindsets, we have our enablers or soft skills, some might call them, and traits that people can partly observe. They're things that make us better at relationships with others. They make us better at our jobs. but often in technical fields, they're not specifically considered when hiring, despite them playing a key role in how we deliver our work. What we're still most commonly hired for today are the explicit skills and professional knowledge that we have. These sit above the waterline, they're plainly visible to everybody, they're understood by the people who are hiring us and running the businesses that we work for. But despite what we're hired for, it matters as individuals that we are developing and nurturing the elements of ourselves that sit beneath the surface, beneath the waterline, because it's those aspects that will ensure we thrive through all of the change going on in the world today. And my experience is that technical people spend a lot of their time thinking about their skills and not a lot of time thinking about their enablers, mindsets, and identity. So we've reflected on the importance of understanding our purpose and redefining our core identity. But now let's take a look at the mindsets that set us up with the behaviours and attitude to thrive through digital transformation. So a mindset is a lens or a frame through which we view the world. It's not about a specific skill, and a mindset is not connected to a specific job. It's more about the holistic overall approach we have to our work. And mindsets enable us to consciously influence our reactions, our reflections, our choices, and our behaviours. You can't attend a single course and suddenly be an expert in any one of these mindsets. We strengthen our mindsets through giving ourselves time and space to practice them in everyday life. And you can liken the idea of strengthening or growing a future fit mindset with the idea of yoga. You know, if you want the mental or physical elements of yoga to show up in your everyday life, there's no way around needing to show up on the yoga mat every day to practice. And our future fit leadership mindsets ask us to focus on the behaviours of being radically forward, deeply human, authentically me, and courageously impactful. And by consciously practicing the future fit leadership mindsets, we're able to get into the habit of taking different perspectives and considering different useful behaviours in any situation. And as a result, we build the effectiveness of our choices and our actions in our rapidly changing world. And this ultimately ensures that we can successfully and happily operate in a digital world that demands continual adaptation. So the radically forward mindset is all about helping us embrace continuous learning and encouraging us to take a design thinking approach to innovation. We learn to lean into change and let go of those things that are holding us back from adapting. We're able to easily and effectively shift our thinking from strategic and big picture to immediate problem solving and implementation. So we can be quite tactical in our strategic thinking and work across multiple horizons as required. The deeply human mindset is about strengthening our intercultural awareness and our worldly perspectives. We genuinely value diversity, equity, and inclusion, and work with a people-first approach that prioritises engagement and communication with others, as well as cultivating creativity for the teams that we work with. So it's all about human connection comes first, imperfect action next. The authentically me mindset helps us recognise the importance of understanding our own purpose and values and how we manifest them in our work. It encourages us to be courageous in sharing our voice and to adequately resource ourselves by making time for those things that fuel our creativity and build our resilience. This mindset also reminds us it's about being self-aware. We need to understand our own leadership story, our own strengths and our own personal biases so that we can show up in a way that is useful in any given situation. And finally, the courageously impactful mindset. It raises our awareness that every single action that we take has an impact on others. We grow to be a natural mentor and advisor, and we willingly share our knowledge to help others on their continuous learning journey. Being courageously impactful means that we're willing to lead for a better future. We're thinking about connecting the dots, building networks, influencing and mobilising resources to leverage the change that's happening all around us in order to create a positive impact for ourselves, our teams, our companies, and society at large. Over the top of these future fit mindsets are our enablers, our particular personal traits and skills that uniquely human, and they're becoming more and more important in the digital age, perhaps counterintuitively. They enable us to bring value in a world even when technology is taking over repetitive tasks, routine processes, and knowledge storage. Now, it wasn't that long ago that the drive for ensuring workers were future fit focused on how much workers needed STEM and technology capabilities and computer and software skills. And it's likely that everyone listening in today has probably prepared their career on the back of that strategy. It's sort of like a global society strategy that's in place. And that's that mentality of we're still preparing people for the information era. But things are shifting, and the business world from many different corners of the planet has given more thought to how we can bring the value of our unique human capabilities to our digital world. Now, the IBM Institute for Business Value ranks as their top 4 necessary skills for professionals across all industries: flexibility, agility, and adaptability, time management and prioritization, collaboration, and effective communication. And last year, the World Economic Forum published their top 10 skills for jobs for tomorrow. And their list emphasises the importance of analytical thinking and innovation, active learning, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality and initiative, and leadership and social influence. And the Institute for the Future states that a design thinking mindset, social intelligence, sense making, and adaptive thinking and cognitive load management are the most important skills required by anyone moving forward. None of these predictive bodies are flagging specific technical skills as critical. The skills most needed in the future of work all centre on uniquely human skills and our ability to think about our own thought processes and how we operate. Now, this is not to say that digital skills aren't important, because they are. They are a fundamental literacy, just like reading and writing and mathematics. Everyone needs to be able to use a computer and engage with technology, but it's the uniquely human skills that will enable us to seamlessly augment with rapidly changing technological capabilities. So the clear message then is that in order for us to thrive through digital transformation, 1, we need to be clear about our personal purpose and our professional identity. And we've got to keep it separate from the particular job we're doing at any given time in our life. 2, we need to build the behaviours and attitudes of the future fit leadership mindsets. We need to consciously practice them every day to strengthen our ability to thrive in a digital world. And 3, we need to strengthen our practical capabilities in skills like adaptability and tactical strategic thinking, creativity and problem solving, communication and collaboration, networking and influencing, and continuous learning. But what about if you find yourself in a leadership role through digital transformation? How can you best help your team or your business to be successful in the world that we find ourselves in? So the greatest determinant of a high-performing team is psychological safety. And that safety starts with the leader and their willingness to be vulnerable and build trust. Now, vulnerability means leaving yourself feeling exposed, and it takes courage and strength. But it's so important because vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation. It's the birthplace of creativity and change. Vulnerability establishes trust and safety for your team, and it will enable them to share what they do know and to be honest about what they don't know. And trust within your team will support them to let go of one thing, to lean into change and take a leap to the next thing as they adapt to new opportunities around them. The best leaders are also curious learners. They model continuous learning and adaptation to their teams. They're willing to say, I don't know, and go and figure it out, learn. They'll admit errors. And in that way, the teams learn from and with their team leaders. It's actually a fallacy that leaders must know everything. This can make some people feel uneasy, but a leader's role is not about having more knowledge or expertise than the whole team. It's about your ability to integrate and orchestrate the team's talents towards a common goal. And every organisation and team has a culture, and that's the sense of purpose and the way of doing things that structure the daily life at work. And the centre of every great culture is a clear sense of purpose. So a leader has the really important role of ensuring that not only do they understand their own why, they understand and communicate the team's why. It has to come first in how you make decisions and how you define your work. By nurturing culture, you create the conditions that strengthen your adaptation advantage. But culture alone is not enough for effective adaptation. To get there, a leader must also nurture capacity. So that requires that a leader makes the time, the space, ensures there's budget and the talent needed to address the new opportunities, but also supports each of their team members to build their own future fit mindsets and to understand their own personal whys. So in summary then, the key takeaways from, I guess, my reflection on the human elements of digital transformation are that we humans can add value, but it's not by what we bring, it's by what we create in our roles that we do. We have to embrace continuous learning, unlearning and adaptation in order for us to reach our full human potential in a world of rapid digital change. Understanding what you do or even how you do it just pales in comparison to knowing why you do what you do. Always start with your own personal why. Our future fit mindsets, radically forward, deeply human, authentically me and courageously impactful, capture those essential attitudes and behaviours for our success in and through digital transformation. And even though it's perhaps counterintuitive, focusing on developing your uniquely human skills matters, even in a technical role. And I hope, having heard all of this, you now recognise that digital transformation really is a human transformation. And I encourage all of you to spend the time understanding yourselves, exploring your own purpose and your own why, building your own professional enablers that will help you thrive and be successful through the digital transformation that's going on all around us. For those of you who like to go off and think a little bit more deeply about these concepts, this is just a suggestion of some further reading that you might like to take on. The first couple of books I drew on heavily to explain some of the sort of key concepts of human transformation through digital transformation. And the latter two books on that list might help you if you're struggling to understand how do I go about exploring my own personal why. Thank you very much for your attention. And if we've got time, I'm happy to address any questions that might come from the floor.
Hi, Tash. My one question that I keep seeing, well, many people are saying that they would buy your book. So do you have a book, Tash? Or are you working on one?
I don't have a book yet.
Okay, perfect. So TBD, everyone, on when that will come out. But there were so many people who missed a couple minutes of your talk. Don't worry, we will be posting this on YouTube. But are you able to share your slides with us as well, Tash?
Yeah, happy to do that.
Amazing. Yes. And the question I was about to ask you were any recommendations on books to read or people that you really think are thought leaders in the space. But I feel like you just shared a few. If you had to pick one or two, who's your like go-to person on learning about leadership? And
right. So the go-to person, absolutely, at the moment, I think, is Heather McGowan. She's got some amazing insights. Her book came out last year, The Adaptation Advantage. You can find her on YouTube. She's got lots of presentations on YouTube. So if you want to explore some of those concepts more deeply, jump online and listen to her speak. And she's got lots more information in her book. I've really only summarised some of the key trends that she's highlighted. The Flux, 8 Superpowers for Thriving in Constant Change. That book hasn't been published yet, but I've been involved behind the scenes. And I love some of the thinking that's gone into that around how we can manage ourselves. That book's really about how we can manage ourselves in constant change. But these are probably my top 5 recommendations for this space.
Thank you so much. And I know that you had so many just throughout your talk. I really appreciate that you were here with us. Thank you, everyone, for your comments in the chat. And Tash, thanks for making the time to come. And I look forward to telling everyone when your book comes out.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks, everyone, for listening. It was great fun to be here.
Thank you.